Professor Roy Dean was interviewed on a podcast the other day. They were discussing various martial arts and training methodologies, and he said something in passing that I thought was real interesting. He said, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is for people that like to do hard things, and I thought that's a great topic for discussion. So let's talk about it. So I mentioned in my last video that I'm in the planning stages for a JiuJitsu event down here in San Diego, California. And I'm not ready to open the doors for registration yet because I'm still securing a venue and getting all the technology in place necessary to register people and all that. But it's looking like it's gonna happen this spring. I'm envisioning a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if you've never been to a training vacation before, a traincation as they call them, then you're really missing out because it's not just about the technical improvements you'll make, but about the friendships, the camaraderie, the sights, the sounds, everything associated with taking a little vacation to make new friends and learn some jiu-jitsu. So if you think you might be interested in this, then the best thing to do is to go to my website, rickellis.com, sign up for the mailing list, and you will be notified as soon as I'm ready to open the doors, and I'm looking forward to meeting you and training with you in person. My premise today is that jiu-jitsu is for people that like to do hard things, or at very least people that recognize the benefit of doing hard things. And of course, hard things is a little bit subjective. If you're a former high school wrestler or collegiate football player, then jiu-jitsu is probably not going to be that big of a deal for you, at least not physically, because you're used to that physical intensity. But it might be really difficult for you emotionally. It might be very difficult to have your ego destroyed by getting tapped out by everybody in the room. And that's really something we all go through in jiu-jitsu. In fact, that ego destruction never really goes away. No matter how long you train, you will always have to keep your ego in check. And so sometimes it's those good athletes that walk in the door that you never see again because they can't handle the ego destruction, whereas it's the smaller, weaker people, or just people that they recognize that this is something that they need, that stick with it. And that was the case with me. I mean, I remember that very first night of training. In fact, that first roll ever is just seared into my memory. I don't remember my second roll. I don't remember my 5th or my 10th or my 1000th roll. But man, I remember that first roll because I got absolutely destroyed. I was physically completely dominated, and I got tapped out a bunch of times by this guy that probably only had 3 months training. But yet I had no solution. And I tried, man, I tried so hard to the point where I had to run to the bathroom after that first round ended because I thought I was going to puke. And it was in that moment that I realized, man, I think I've been pretty delusional about my own ability to defend myself. In fact, I think your average guy out there is very delusional about their own ability to defend themselves. If you've never done a martial art, you've never played a competitive sport, you've never been in a fight, you're probably walking around thinking you're far more capable than you are. And so you walk into a jiu-jitsu school and you realize, man, I'm not that capable. And so you have to deal with the failure of going to class night after night after night and just not doing very well. Nobody's good at jiu-jitsu in the beginning. And so you have to be willing to just keep showing up, and eventually you start getting good at it. And eventually it becomes a fun game to play, but it takes some discipline, it takes some resilience and some dedication to keep showing up, right? And there are profound benefits to doing jiu-jitsu. I didn't realize that when I started jiu-jitsu. I just was looking at it from a self-defense perspective and from a fitness standpoint. I had no idea that jiu-jitsu would embed itself into my life in such a profound way. In fact, I don't think there's anybody that is trained for an extended period of time that won't tell you that it's just become this, this part of them. In fact, I would separate my life. This is how powerful jiu-jitsu is. I kind of separate my life into the period before jiu-jitsu and the period after jiu-jitsu. And after having trained for a long time, I now see that there are profound benefits. You will become more physically capable. You'll become more fit. You will gain a lot of mental benefits from it. You'll become a better problem solver. You'll become tougher. You'll become better able to dynamically problem solve. You'll learn how to prioritize problems that you're trying to solve. You'll learn to be unattached to an outcome. There's a meditative quality to jiu-jitsu in that all your problems in the real world, they're gone when you're on the mat. There's a community aspect, communal aspect of jiu-jitsu and the relationships, the bonding, the camaraderie. There's some physical touch. A lot of people are deprived, and even though we're trying to strangle each other, there's something powerful about that physicality and many, many other things. But you have to keep showing up. And that's what makes jiu-jitsu hard. You keep showing up even though the struggles never fully go away. They get easier. The struggles get easier because you have tools to deal with those struggles, those challenges. But it's always hard. And you will always have moments in your roles where you can concede or you can say, no, I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep going. And so do hard things. I think it's important. I mean, this has been well studied by psychologists and sociologists. It turns out that when people don't have struggles, when people are soft and complacent and they don't have, things they're striving for, well, you get depressed, you get bored, and societies where there's a little bit more struggle, the people tend to be happier. In the societies where there are no struggles, people tend to be pretty unhappy. And so you want to have struggles in your life. Struggles are an indicator that you're moving yourself toward your goals. You're moving yourself in a positive direction. It's like that Musashi quote. I love, he had so many quotes. Musashi, the great Japanese swordsman, he wrote the Book of Five Rings, and he had amazing quotes. One of them I love is, everything you want is on the other side of fear. It's brilliant. Everything you want is on the other side of at least discomfort, right? Think about your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. Every one of those things is going to require you to be uncomfortable, and in some cases to be scared. And if you are able to do those things, you will find that you'll have an incredible sense of accomplishment and you'll simply be happier. And so that's why it's important to do hard things. And, a lot of times our brains are going to try to convince us to not do those hard things because our brain wants us to conserve energy, right? We are a biological organism, and the brain tightly controls energy expenditure. And when it perceives either a threat to energy expenditure or it perceives that there's something that's potentially dangerous, I mean, it might just be a jiu-jitsu class, but to your mind, there's some danger or there's some difficulty or there's some emotional difficulty. What your brain does is it decreases motivation, right? And you'll be sitting there one day thinking, man, I don't know if jiu-jitsu is for me. This is too hard. Well, guess what? It's just your brain trying to trick you into maintaining homeostasis, which is that stable state where you have an energy surplus. And so you can't give into that. And jiu-jitsu is something that will teach you to not give into that. I mean, I experienced that last night, and I've been through this a million times. I trained jiu-jitsu 2 nights ago and had some hard rolls in. And then the next day I went and had a really good weightlifting session. And then yesterday I had to get up early and take someone to the airport. And so I was a little bit sleep deprived and I was feeling, low energy yesterday. All day I had very, very low energy and my brain was screaming at me, Rick, take the night off. Don't go train. Just go lay in bed watching your iPad. And again, I've been through this so many times that I knew that it's just my brain trying to trick me. And I said, nope, I'm going to go train. It's probably not going to be a great night, but I'm going to go anyway. And as it turned out, energy is in the air. The minute you walk into a jiu-jitsu school, energy's in the air. I felt energized and it turned out I had a great night. I had a fantastic night. I walked out last night with a spring in my step because I did well. And that's how it goes. You will never regret going to jiu-jitsu. You will never regret going to class. You will only regret if you gave in to the temptation to stay home and watch TV. So I think as a life skill, it's important to have things in our life that require some dedication, some discipline, and some difficulty. And then once you've mastered the ability to do one hard thing, you can begin stacking other things. Okay, you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 6 months, great. Now start a weightlifting routine. And you've done that for 6 months, great. Start doing some cold immersions. And you start doing that for a while and add something else. And then begin structuring your life in a way that you have trained yourself to not be at the mercy of your brain, which is not always going to tell you the truth of what you should be doing. So that's my message today. Do hard things, recognize the value in doing hard things. Your life will be measurably better. And so I wish you the best. And if you are struggling a little bit with motivation, just understand that your brain is lying to you. All you have to do is pack your bag with your gi, go train, don't think about it. You'll probably have a good night and you're going to be glad that you did. So there you go. And I look forward to talking with you again next time.